President Ramnath Kovind to address the nation on eve of 74th Independence Day today. The address to be broadcast on the entire network of All India Radio and all channels of Doordarshan in the evening. In Rajasthan, Congress moves motion of confidence amid political tussle in the state. BSP issues whip to vote against Congress in case of no confidence motion. Supreme Court holds Prashant Bhushan guilty of contempt for tweets derogatory to the CJI and his four predecessors. Court says it will hear on August 20th arguments on sentence. Union Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju launches Fit India Freedom Run today, largest countrywide run to encourage fitness and help citizens to get freedom from lifestyle diseases. US brokers historic peace agreement between Israel and UAE to normalize diplomatic ties in the Middle East region. Agreement is a new era for country, says Israeli PM Netanyahu. Hello and welcome to this edition of the news. I'm Rukma. In our top story, President Ramnath Kovind will address the nation today on the eve of our 74th Independence Day. The address will be broadcast from 7 p.m. on the entire national network of All India Radio and telecast over all channels of Doordarshan in Hindi, followed by the English version. The broadcast of the address in Hindi and English on DD will be followed by broadcasts in regional languages by regional channels of Doordarshan. All India Radio will broadcast regional language versions at 9:30 p.m. on its respective regional networks. The nation celebrates its 74th Independence Day tomorrow. Prime Minister Modi will lead the nation in celebrating Independence Day from the ramparts of the majestic Red Fort in New Delhi. The Prime Minister will unfurl the national flag and address the nation from the ramparts of the iconic monument. Security has been tightened in the national capital in view of the celebrations. In view of the COVID-19 situation, Delhi police have requested invitees to follow guidelines issued by the Union Home Ministry and the Health Ministry at all times while they are participating in the function area at Red Fort. Delhi police have issued traffic advisory to ensure safe and smooth vehicular movement across the national capital tomorrow. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison extended warm congratulations to the people of India ahead of Independence Day. In his message, the Australian PM said, as a long-standing friend of India, Australia joins wholeheartedly in its celebration of independence and extends our warm congratulations to the people of India. The Australian PM highlighted the elevation of bilateral relations to a comprehensive strategic partnership between India and Australia. Morrison further said the deep friendship between Australia and India is about more than trade or diplomacy. Prime Minister Morrison said while this year's celebrations will be different, many of the traditional gatherings will not take place. We can all draw strength from the values that our countries share. Morrison also acknowledged the Indian community in Australia on the occasion. And now an update from Rajasthan, where the special assembly session is being held. Ashok Gehlot-led government has moved the motion of confidence in the assembly. State Law and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Shanti Kumar Dhariwal tabled the proposal for a trust vote in the state assembly. And earlier, the House paid tributes to former MP Governor Lalji Tandon and former Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Ajit Jogi, as well as other prominent leaders who passed away recently. The Speaker then adjourned the House till 1 p.m. The BSP had earlier issued a whip for the second time to 6 of its MLAs in Rajasthan to vote against the Congress in any no-confidence motion or any other proceedings in the State Assembly. The party in a statement said if they violate the same, they will face disqualification. In another development, the Rajasthan High Court will today hear the petitions filed by BJP MLA Madan Dilawar and the BSP, challenging the merger of 6 MLAs with the Congress. The petitioners have challenged the merger of the 6 MLAs with the Congress and demanded a stay on the execution of the order passed by the Speaker in this regard. And joining us now is our correspondent Dharmesh Bharti with more details on this story. Dharmesh, if you can hear me.
Yes, Sukma.
Right. Well, high drama. After all that high drama, Sachin Pilot finally returning to the fold. It's the day of the confidence motion. The proposal has already been tabled. That is as far as we know. Give us your assessment of the situation as it is now.
Rukma, Parliament Affairs Minister Shanti Dhariwal moved confidence motion in the Rajasthan Assembly today. When he moved the motion, Speaker accepted and said that there will be debate, and both opposition and both the government MLAs will put their views. When the Parliament Affairs Minister Shanti Dhariwal started speaking and raised two issues, Leader of Opposition Gulab Chand Kataria objected and said that the issues which are not related to Rajasthan should not be raised during this debate. When earlier the Speaker of the Assembly allowed the Parliamentary Affairs Minister to table eight ordinance in the Assembly, already the Parliamentary Affairs Minister has spoken, and now the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Rajendra Rathod, is speaking, and he said that there is a dissent among Congress party, and he criticized especially CM for his earlier statement regarding Governor that when the Chief Minister said that if no decision is taken for the Assembly session, he will not be responsible and people may get out Governor House. So he heavily attacked on the government that the Chief Minister, who is the Home Minister of the state also, issued such statement against the constitutional head. And again, the Deputy Leader of Opposition, he said that when the situation of pandemic and the law and order situation, which is not good in the state, and there is a quite dissent among the government, and the government was.
Right, Dharmesh joining us there and giving us all that information, and he's covering the story right now. And as you saw in those visuals, the no confidence motion tabled in the Rajasthan special session today, and well, we'll have to wait and watch what happens on that front. The Supreme Court meanwhile today held Prashant Bhushan guilty of contempt of court for his tweets against the judiciary. Taking suo motu cognizance, the Apex Court initiated contempt proceedings against him for his two separate tweets on Chief Justice Bobde and the Supreme Court. The top court will hear arguments on sentencing against him on the 20th of August. The maximum sentence could be 6 months in jail. And Vikas Sarthi now joins us with more on this hearing and what the Supreme Court said. Vikas, what can you tell us about what the Supreme Court said in its decision in the Prashant Bhushan case, even as it declared him guilty of contempt of court?
Well, Rukma, earlier Supreme Court rejected Prashant Bhushan's explanation, or it was not an apology, but it's an explanation on behalf of Prashant Bhushan. So Supreme Court rejected that, and Supreme Court held that those two tweets which were reported to the Supreme Court through a petition were objectionable, and the court said that these tweets were not targeted to any particular judge only. These tweets were against the institution. So Supreme Court cannot ignore such kind of mischievous acts. The court said that Mr. Prashant Bhushan has been an active voice in raising public interest litigation, but these two tweets were clearly an attempt to scandalize the Supreme Court as an institution. And the court also mentioned that it is open for criticism of a particular judge on his judicial views or on judgment, but any attempt to scandalize the institution must be dealt with and must be punished. So now court will decide what should be the quantum of punishment on 20th of August. As you were saying earlier, that up to 6 months imprisonment is one of the sentences under Contempt of Court Act, but Supreme Court will decide on 20th of August that what should be the quantum of punishment. But it is a tough day for Prashant Bhushan because earlier he was of the opinion that whatever he said in those tweets were not against the institution, and whatever he said was not an attempt to scandalize the court. He raised a justified issue, but court rejected those arguments and explanation, and now on 20th of August, court will decide what should be the punishment that will be handed over to Prashant.
Right. Well, Prashant Bhushan himself had put in a lot of explanations for what he had done, excusing himself of what he had done. Now it appears that his sentence could go up, as you just mentioned as well, up to 6 months. The sentencing is on August 20th. Has there been any reaction from his camp, from him in particular?
Well, he has not said anything on camera. But generally, Prashant Bhushan, whatever he wants to say, he say on Twitter. So we were expecting his reaction on that on this particular judgment, but as of now, neither he has responded to media calls and nor he has said anything on Twitter account. But by the evening, he may say something about it. And in fact, Rukma, this is not the only case of contempt of court. Earlier also, he made some statements in 2009. That case is still pending before the Supreme Court. So another contempt of court petition is pending against him with respect to the alleged scandalous statements against the Supreme Court. Here in this matter, in this particular new case, the Supreme Court has made it clear that those two tweets were contemptuous, and those were whatever was said in those tweets was scandalous. It was an attempt to scandalize the judiciary.
Right, Vikas, thank you very much for joining us there and for giving us all those inputs. And now moving on, Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Kiren Rijiju, today launched the largest countrywide run, the Fit India Freedom Run. Individuals and organizations can register for the event on the Fit India website. The event is being organized to mark our 74th Independence Day tomorrow to the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi on October 2nd. Speaking on the occasion, he urged countrymen to actively take part in the run, which would initiate from tomorrow morning on Independence Day. He called on youth to come forward and make the run trending.
My request is tomorrow from the early morning, this Fit India Freedom Run, it must start trending. We have to create a record.
And addressing the event via video conferencing, Union Minister Kiren Rijiju also said that the Fit India Freedom Run will evoke patriotism in the youth and take it to another level.
Holding flags and running or walking in the early morning, this is something, it boosts your, patriotism. It makes you feel more for your nation. These are some of the thoughts which gives tremendous strength in the way you perform and you think as a citizen of India.
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh participated in Atmanirbhar Bharat Saptah Samapan ceremony through video conferencing from New Delhi today. During the event, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat was also present. Under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Saptah, the National Innovation and Indigenization Organization was also being launched by the Raksha Mantri. Yesterday, through video conferencing, the Saptah was initiated by the Minister to push for Make in India on the 10th of August. And let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the country. The recovery rate has crossed 71%, while the case fatality rate has fallen below 2%. Over 17 lakh people have now recovered from the virus. 55,500 573 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total to 17,51,555. With this, recovery rate currently stands at 71.17%. India's three-pronged strategy of test, trace and treat is proving to be a success. One tangible outcome of this strategy is that the fatality rate has dropped to 1.95%, with 48,040 deaths recorded so far. With over 7 lakh tests being conducted each day, the number of active COVID-19 cases in India now stand at 6,61,595, which is around 26% of the total cases reported so far. Further, according to ICMR, 2,76,94,416 samples have been tested for COVID so far. Of these, 8,48,728 were tested yesterday. The World Health Organization has advised to conduct 140 tests per day per million population. Notably, according to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, focused center-led efforts and effective implementation by states and union territories, 34 of them have exceeded this requirement. As the nation pushes ahead to reopen and cope with the COVID-19 pandemic, the Mizoram government has issued standard operating procedure to be followed in gatherings in a bid to ensure strict implementation of social distancing. The order restricts the gathering of people in marriage ceremonies, funerals, memorials and other functions to 50. The order also prohibits elderly and people with comorbidities to attend such gatherings. It has also mandated people wear masks. In J&K, 2 policemen were martyred while another was injured in indiscriminate firing by terrorists in Naugam area on the outskirts of Srinagar. The entire area has been cordoned off to nab attackers. Police say that both terrorists were involved in the encounter.
दो टेररिस्ट आए और हमारे लड़कों को पीछे से अंधाधुंध फायरिंग शुरू कर दिया, जिसमें हमारे 2 सिपाही शहीद हो गए, 1 जख्मी हुए। हम लोग पूरे एरिया को कॉर्डन कर लिए हैं, लेकिन हम लोग इसको आइडेंटिफाई कर लिए हैं कौन है, जैश मोहम्मद ग्रुप का है और बहुत जल्दी न्यूट्रलाइज कर लेंगे।
And in Bihar, the flood situation continues to deteriorate, with flood waters inundating 11 more panchayats in the past 24 hours. Currently, over 77 lakh people across 1,282 panchayats in 16 districts are flood affected. 33 teams of NDRF and SDRF are carrying out relief and rescue work. Over 5,50,000 people have been shifted to safer places. Till now, 25 people have lost their lives in flood-related incidents across the state. 7 relief camps are presently operational, where 12,500 people are taking shelter. Over 1,000 community kitchens are also being run, providing food to around 8,17,000 people. COVID testing facilities are being provided at all relief camps and community kitchen areas. The government has disbursed gratuitous relief of 6,000 rupees each to over 7 lakh flood-affected families till now. The Met Department has predicted light to medium rainfall in and around these river areas. It has also predicted heavy rains at isolated places across the state on August 16th and 17th. In Assam, meanwhile, the flood situation improved significantly, with the number of flood-affected districts coming down to just 2. In view of the development, large number of people have started returning to their homes. Only 6 relief and distribution camps remain active across the state, where 62 people are taking shelter. The Met Department has predicted heavy rains at isolated places for today till August 17th. In Uttarakhand, several parts of Khatima town in Udham Singh Nagar district are facing waterlogging following overnight rains in the region. Continuous heavy rainfall in many parts of the Himalayan state have led to landslides and flash floods. Landslides in some areas have led to blocking of roads. Authorities have moved people to safer places in many parts, while all district magistrates have been directed to take precautionary measures to avoid untoward incidents. The downpour has resulted in rising water levels of various rivers as well. The Met Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rains at isolated places in the state till August 17th. And the death toll in the landslide in Rajamala near Munnar has climbed to 56 after the National Disaster Response Force and the Fire and Rescue Service teams pulled out one more body, that of a child, from the debris this morning. The rescue mission is still underway to locate those who went missing from the Pettimudi settlement in Rajamala near Munnar after the landslide hit the settlement on the night of last Thursday. The settlement consisted of around 30 homes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday became the fourth longest serving Prime Minister of India. The Prime Minister has also become the first non-Congress leader to have achieved this feat. The Prime Minister on August 13 surpassed the tenure of 2,268 days that his BJP senior former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had clocked in his 3 terms combined. Late Atal Bihari Vajpayee had served 3 terms as the Prime Minister of India. BJP Vice President Shyam Jaju today presented an eco-friendly idol of Lord Ganesha to Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change Prakash Javadekar ahead of Ganesh Chaturthi. During the event, Union Minister Prakash Javadekar urged people to avoid buying Ganesh idols made of plaster of Paris and instead use Ganesh idols made of soil.
पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड ने अगले साल से प्लास्टर ऑफ पेरिस को बंद किया है। तो अभी से हम सबको बताना चाहते हैं कि माटी का गणपति करो, कितना सुंदर होता है, इसकी पूजा करें, बाद में वो सीधा पानी में मिल जाएगा तो कोई प्रदूषण का मुद्दा नहीं बनता। और ये लोगों में ही जागृति जब फैलती है तब कानून का अमल होता है और इसलिए सब लोग इसका अनुकरण कर सकते हैं।
In a major diplomatic breakthrough, the United Arab Emirates on Thursday became the first Gulf country and the third in the Arab world to establish diplomatic ties with Israel. A joint statement from the US, Israel and the UAE say that this historic diplomatic breakthrough will advance peace in the Middle East and is a testament to the bold diplomacy and vision of the 3 leaders and the courage of the UAE and Israel to chart a new path that will unlock the great potential in the region. US President Donald Trump called the accord between Israel and the United Arab Emirates historic and a breakthrough towards peace. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also in a nationally broadcast.
United Arab Emirates will fully normalize their diplomatic relations. They will exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the board and on a broad range of areas including tourism, education, healthcare, trade, and security. This is a truly historic moment.
And Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a nationally broadcast statement also said that the move ushered in a new era in Israel's relations with the Arab world.
In a new era of peace between Israel and the Arab world, I just came from an historic virtual conference between myself, President Donald Trump, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed of the United Arab Emirates. We announced the establishment of a full and formal peace between Israel and the UAE. It includes the mutual opening of embassies, direct flights, and many, many other bilateral agreements. This is the greatest advancements toward peace between Israel and the Arab world in the last 26 years, and it marks the 3rd formal peace between Israel and an Arab nation.
The United Arab Emirates said in an agreement with Israel to normalize relations was done to deal with the threat that further annexation of Palestinian territory posed to the 2-state solution. The UAE's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Anwar Gargash urged Palestinians and Israelis to return to the negotiation table. And that's all we have for you in this edition of the news. News and updates continue on DD News and DD India. Namaskar.